Greetings and welcome to our breakout session to ban space weapons.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be here in Davos.
But remember we are in Geneva this week.
Of course. As a new member of the arms control community, I sometimes lose track of where we are. Davos, Iceland, London, Paris, Brussels, Vienna, Bangkok, or this place.
It is difficult, but you will get used to it. Among our many important topics today, I would like to start by offering a proclamation that all nations will need a vigorous arms control community for the rest of eternity, and perhaps even longer. So, by the will of the people, let us agree to ban all weapons in space.
For all of eternity, or longer if necessary, right? Yet how do we know this is the will of the people?
Because people are good and want to ban all weapons in space.
But if people are good, why do they need to ban weapons in space? Won't their own goodness keep them from placing weapons in space to begin with?
Even though people are good, they still need other people like us who are really good and know best to tell them to not put weapons in space. Also, it is our position that weapons in space cost too much and won't work anyway.
But if they cost too much and they won't work anyway, why do the good people need to be told not to do it?
Because although people are good, they cannot be trusted.
Wait. Which people cannot be trusted? The people who are good or the other people you mentioned are also good and know best?
The first group of people who are good are the ones that cannot be trusted. The other people who are also good and actually know better than the first group of people who are good is us. Remember, we are good and we know better. We must protect them from themselves.
But if the first group of people who are good cannot be trusted, how would an arms control treaty keep them from breaking this trust?
Because a treaty has the force of law behind it.
But don't people break laws?
The argument was settled long ago. People are good but cannot be trusted and therefore need laws that are created by other people who know better and can be trusted to do what's best. All this will keep people who are good from doing things that are inconsistent with their basic goodness.
Truly you have a dizzying intellect.
Yes. Since my logic and moral superiority are therefore irrefutable, let's move on.
So the irrefutable logic and moral superiority counted as the explanation. I just want to be sure.
Yes. I am glad I was able to help. So to review, by the will of the people, let us agree to ban all weapons in space.
Maybe we should go further and agree to ban satellite jamming and interference and direct ascent anti-satellite weapons.
No. Goodness no, man. Space weapons is what we want to ban.
But won't banning destructive and non-destructive space interference be required to help serve to preserve the efficacy of all delivered space information?
No. Goodness no, man. Space weapons is what we want to ban.
But isn't the goal to use space to benefit mankind?
No. You keep getting off track. The goal is to ban space weapons.
But what about banning space warfare, which has the effects of banning weapons in space? Are we interested in addressing the behavior, which is space warfare, or the capability, which is space weapons?
The capability. We must ban space weapons. We know better, remember? Remember my irrefutable logic and moral superiority.
How could I forget those? But what about misbehavior in space? For example, making a satellite run into another satellite? Would that be a space weapon? What about someone who creates a massive debris field with a direct ascent weapon in which the subsequent debris destroys other satellites? Are those space weapons?
No.
Does no serve as the explanation to my question.
Correct. My intellect may have made you dizzy.
But can Ethiopia conduct space warfare by jamming satellites?
You are concerned about space warfare. Don't worry about space warfare. Worry about banning weapons in space.
And hasn't Iran and Libya been jamming satellites?
Are those space weapons? No. Remember, we must ban weapons in space.
But would banning weapons in space stop China's 2007 anti-satellite test, which created a massive debris field in space?
No. Remember, we must ban weapons in space. They are destabilizing.
Are there any weapons in space now?
No. Remember what I told you about our position on this? First, space weapons cost too much, and second, they won't work. Finally, they are destabilizing. This means weapons in space must be banned.
But if they cost too much and won't work, why would anyone put weapons in space?
No one does. But they must be banned anyway. Or else we could have a space arms race.
So will the space arms race occur because space weapons cost too much or because space weapons don't work?
You seem to be losing track of the goal. We must ban space weapons.
Would banning weapons in space stop China from interfering with satellites by using ground-based lasers?
No. But we must ban weapons in space. We don't want a space arms race.
But if Iran, China, Libya, Ethiopia, and others can practice space warfare without weapons in space, how will banning space weapons make us safer? And what do you even mean with the phrase space arms race?
Remember that space weapons are destabilizing, so they could lead to a space arms race. If you can't understand this, I am not sure you have much of a career as an arms controller ahead of you.
Hey, isn't it great that we can actually make a living doing this? Going to Davos, Geneva, UN headquarters, and conferences all around the world, all for the purpose of keeping people from doing things that are inconsistent with our agenda, irrefutable logic, and moral superiority, while claiming to save mankind from itself?
It's good work if you can find it. And I'm glad you seem to understand better. Let us therefore celebrate your newfound wisdom and logic with a toast. Kool-Aid.
Indeed. Kool-Aid is most appropriate. I know I can learn to love Geneva grape. Cheers.
I will meet you for champagne and oysters after I have my massage.
Very well. I think I am starting to better understand the iron logic and self-sacrifice required of the arms control community. Goodbye.